All right. There's still some people not signed in, but I'm not gonna shame you. So we'll move forward. Let's see, any introductions, new faces?
Hi, I'm Harshita. I'm currently a mentee under LFX for the web redesign project. And yeah, this is my first meeting here, and glad to be here.
Awesome, welcome. All right, thank you for showing up. Let's see, release planning and or updates. I could kind of kick one off. Yesterday, we went ahead and released an RC for pack 0210, I believe. And so right now we are kind of in, what is it, code freeze for that release. But yeah, if you're able to test it out, see if there's any kinks with it that we might need to work out, we're planning to release that by next week, Wednesday. That's all we got there. Any other status updates or release updates?
Sure, I can speak for Natalie, I guess, today. Gearing up for 0.12.0 release, we have RCs out. As you know, ARM support and cosign usage is going to be in there. So we're just doing a little bit more validation on there. And nothing's really blocking us. Once we have our acceptance ready to go, we'll maybe ship the next one. Also, there's a reversal of analyze and detect.
Yeah, cool. All right, I try to type in something into meeting notes. I'm pretty useless, but Anthony, yeah, if you could add a couple more things to the lifecycle release, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right. Anything else from anybody else? All right, moving on to our freestanding items, Docker desktop implications. Sam.
I think this is just a continuation of the item from the core team signed yesterday. Would it be worth creating an issue or something on our back repository and docs repository to like add some steps or examples for using Podman or something else with back? I think most of our docs currently refer to installing Docker, and given that may not be an option for some folks, would it be worth just creating issues to track the work to move to Podman or something else and maybe have better documented support for it?
To what extent do you envision this going into? Like, is it actually like setting up Podman itself, or is it just saying like, hey, you could set this environment variable, right, that then points to this socket or this remote daemon?
I think we can just say install Podman, and then if there's anything else that needs to be done to make back compatible with it, those steps should be documented. Not sure if there were, like, I remember there was this issue opened a while ago on Podman support where you had to do a few extra steps to get back working with Podman. Not sure if that's still the case or that's changed.
Yeah, I don't believe that's the case any longer. I think there was a fix in the lifecycle to improve some of that. Yeah, I mean, the minimal, right, I think that you're asking is basically just in places where we say install Docker, right, or depend on Docker, just add mentions to Podman as well, right? I think that would be maybe good enough. I do wonder if this is a really good marketing opportunity, though, for us to create a blog post that says, this is how you use Pack with Podman, but it actually goes into setting up Podman on like a Mac or something like that. And then we could point contributors if need be, right? That again, run into the sort of limitation to that blog post. And it's kind of going onto this, I wouldn't say fanfare, but it's going on with the kind of motion of what's currently happening out there.
Sounds good to me.
Joe, would you be open to that blog post idea?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. I might take a swing at it. I'm terrible at writing, so you'll have to be a very good copy editor. But
Yeah, happy to.
all right.
As well.
All right,
I
go
would
ahead.
love a blog post. We literally just had someone in our Paketo Slack the other day being like, hey, have you guys thought about trying to make this work without Docker? So being able to point something at them saying, well, actually, it is being thought about and here's some stuff would be super excellent.
Yeah, I agree. Anything we can do to get ahead of it, sort of.
Cool. I'll let that. And then I think there was a docs issue for introducing Podman. Sam, do you want to take care of that second one?
Yep.
I don't think I could mention you.
I'll assign it to myself.
Yes, please. All right. Yeah, so I think there's like a bigger question, right? Of like, what does this Docker desktop change really mean for the project as a whole? And we were talking about that yesterday. I'm not like, for me personally, I feel like it's still way too early to tell. Like I felt like they've made decisions in the past that then they've kind of backed away from, right? Like the registry changes where I think they were going to put a harder limit on the quota, and then they eventually kind of eased off on it a little bit, if I remember correctly. So I do wonder if something similar will happen.
Wait, did they eased off on the registry thing?
I believe so. If I remember, it was going to be a lot harsher, but I'll have to look into exactly the exact details.
Does the Podman stuff doesn't solve the like virtualization problem though, right?
It does come with a companion VM on Mac. Doesn't seem to work on ARM. On WSL2, you need systemd for it, which you need to install implicitly. But apart from that, Podman works on WSL, and for Mac, the companion VM that ships with Podman, like it lets you easily set up a Linux VM. The other option we have is using nerdctl, which is sort of like the more experimental version equivalent of Docker, which also ships with a VM utility called Lima, which can also be used for like non-nerdctl users. Like you could also use it with Podman, and Lima seems to support ARM, which Podman currently doesn't.
Yeah, what I would hate to do really is kind of try to re-implement the functionality of virtualization within Pack, which I've experimented with, and it's just really, really painful. And there's just a lot to take into consideration as far as maintenance overhead. So if we could delegate that aspect to other existing tools, I think that would be the best approach.
And when you say it comes with Podman, you mean not following
So
the Podman IO instructions?
So I think Podman, if you install it via brew, has this thing called Podman machine in it or something, which spins up a Linux VM and configures Podman to use that Linux VM to create containers and stuff.
I see.
So basically, their re-implementation of Docker machine.
Yeah, are they using Docker machine?
Cool. So, yeah, I don't know if there was more that we wanted to discuss here, but that seems like the
Yeah.
short-term solution is just for alternatives to Docker. And then long-term, it's more like wait and see what happens with the ecosystem.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest hangup is the thing you just said, Javier, which is the VM machine setup, at least from what I've looked into so far at work. Docker machine, if any of this stuff is based on Docker machine, like that has been in maintenance mode since I feel like a few years ago, 2019 or something. Ever since basically Docker moved to Docker desktop. I know Minikube also uses Docker machine. There's basically a repo, I think, that someone made of basically a bunch of things that Docker abandoned, of like adapters and other things, and Docker machine got moved up under there. And in the maintenance issue on the Docker machine repo, there's like a link to that thing, and then also the Minikube issue, because I think they also try to tackle this issue as well. But some things that I think are challenging is like, I think probably the proprietary Docker desktop stuff is a little better from what I've seen, from what the issues and stuff have been reported of, just dealing with VPN and kind of hangups around that when you're kind of spinning the VM up.
Yeah, I definitely, when I experimented with Pack actually importing this functionality, networking was definitely one of those biggest challenges, because there's a lot that Docker Desktop does for you in that arena.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so I guess we'll keep looking at that. Let's look forward to the blog post, and hopefully that'll give people some sort of answers for the immediate future. All right, any last comments on this one? All right, moving on to image signing. Sam, that's you again.
This is again a continuation of like the cosine conversation from a couple of months ago. I think I've mostly seen people moving more towards cosine than notary at this point. We also have had better support on like KPAC side. Like there's actually a draft paper open implementing cosine support on KPAC. We've also started signing lifecycle image releases with cosine. Does it make sense to continue this conversation now and figure out if we want to create an RFC for either pack or lifecycle to implement image signing using cosine?
I guess what do you envision when we're talking about the life cycle, doing image signing?
I would imagine the exporter, if launched with, like if it's using the non-daemon mode, would publish signatures alongside the image, given that it's provided with the key.
Okay. And this would be a better approach than if Pack were to implement signing, because
I am open to either. It was just a matter of re-implementation. I guess every platform at some point will have to implement this, so might make sense to implement it in the lifecycle. And it could be an optional thing, right? Like if the platform wants to do something extra, it could just skip that flag, not provide a key or not enable cosine support, and lifecycle would publish it as it is. If you pass an additional flag, you don't have to then download the cosine binary, implement the signing logic as a separate step. Possibly useful for things like Tecton, or like I would imagine if all of this logic is consolidated, it would also help share things between other platforms apart from Pack.
Yeah, I would agree. And that's what came to my mind too, right? It's like thinking about the different platforms that would have to support to re-implement it. It makes more sense to put it in the life cycle, although it does feel like a more platform specific concern. But if they could opt out and then do like, again, if they want to like mutate it right after the fact and then sign it, then they could still be able to do that.
So does that mean we should create an RFC for life cycle? Like I can propose one with life cycle and with back or platform level support as an alternative.
Were there reservations in the past of going with this direction?
I think it was mainly on whether we should implement or include such a thing in the life cycle or not.
I see.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know I had a maybe moot point about, just competition. I just didn't know if cosign would win out, in a year from now, right? Maybe when there's Notary V2 and other things, right? I just didn't know if the community around cosign was huge enough at the time. That was the other point that was raised.
And have you, I guess, changed your mind on that? Do you see the community now and the adoption actually happening for
Oh,
cosign?
that's a fair question. Yeah, I've seen KPAC adopt it. I know internally we've been talking a little bit more about it too. Yes, my worry has been lessened.
I think the main driving force behind cosign adoption has been that even though Notary V2 is an ideal way of implementing it, it's gonna take a long while for all of the registries to support the things it needs, which who knows how long it will take. So that was also the reason like cosign went with like this hacky way that it does to support older registries. And from my conversations with Dan, I don't see that changing in the next 4 years. That we'll certainly get all of the support and the new in all of the registries that are used by enterprises.
So I do wonder if that plays into anything on the roadmap. If I'm not mistaken, that would kind of fall under the supply chain security.
Yep.
I think that would be a pretty good story to tell, right? From the roadmap perspective of having SBOM and image signing now available.
If we get cosign integration, we can also leverage their SBOM format more easily.
Terrence and Joe, do you guys have an opinion on this before an RFC is created?
No, I mean, I think basically what Anthony said was probably the biggest, I think, thing when we talked about this like a year. I feel like it was a year ago. It was a while back. And it just wasn't clear. And then I think when we talked about, when Stephen brought this up even 2 or 3 years ago, it was even much more in flux. And I think people weren't a big fan of Notary or something, or he wasn't at the time. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest question is probably, which can get sussed out in the RFC, is like whether we actually want this as a platform level feature or want it in lifecycle, or if it's in lifecycle, like if people don't want it, is it like an extension thing? Like, I think that's probably a lot of the open questions, and I'd be curious where kind of people stand on it. But overall, I think it's a feature we probably want somewhere. Is this dependent on your other structured BOM stuff going through now?
They're independent, but one would help the other. Like we wouldn't have to re-implement the storage format for the ES bomb if we just leverage the cosine one.
So I guess when you say it's independent, we would just put up the bomb stuff we already have. If like that, if we went and implemented that today and that other one was not finished being implemented or something, right?
So I couldn't hear the last sentence.
Oh yeah, so like basically even in that other one, like if people are doing the kind of build pack bomb today and we implemented cosine, you would just upload that bomb as part of that. Okay.
I think the only other reasoning for not including it in the lifecycle is the daemon use case. If you're exporting to the daemon, you can't sign it. So
Oh, even more ammunition to remove daemon support. Got it. So I guess, yeah, I mean, I know that this is maybe a little bit conflated with the Docker desktop, right? But like in just general, right? Any daemon, whether it be Podman or Docker, just if there's not a registry, right? Then basically you can't have this functionality. Could oh no, is it because we can't calculate the SHA for association?
Yeah, that's the main issue.
I feel like we could solve that. I don't know if it's worth solving, right? Because it is a predictable SHA at the end of the day. But yeah.
I think last time Dan was here, we did discuss this, and he said he tried to implement it, but he found so many edge cases with different registries that it was really hard to predict the encryption, the compression algorithms and what. So
That makes sense. Cool. I guess that could be part of the RFC, right? Is that if implemented in the lifecycle, the daemon flag and the signing would be exclusive or something. Cool. All right. Wait, isn't that? Never mind. I'm gonna shut up. I'm not gonna go too far into the weeds. Just gonna ignore me. All right. Cool. Anything else on that topic? All right. It seems like we came to the end of the agenda. Any last comments? All right, I guess we'll end it early. I'll see you guys all online.